I live in a one-party consent state. Look that up if you need to know what that means, but do understand the parties that are involved in this story lived in at the time, currently live in the same state as I. So, keep that in mind. Hi, it's Nicole and welcome to my channel where I get vocal about workplace bullying, harassment, intimidation, and all actions in between. Now listen, we are going to get into a story time. I am going to tell you what truly made me decide to work for myself, and we're going to entitle this one, Get Out. I did change my scenery because I wanted to be a little bit more relaxed because this story time is going to be triggering. Now keep in mind there are different types of storytellers. I can tell you now I am not one of those animated types of storytellers. I am the give you the facts and provide you some visuals, mainly because that is the way that I like to receive information. So I am going to tell you what I need to tell you, and then I'm going to show you what I told you, if that makes sense. I must say there are different types of ways to handle conflict. When I am in conflict with someone, I am not the physical fighter, nor am I the go back and forth, let's cuss you out type. I am the type that's like, let me gather the information, hold on to that information, because if it gets down to the get down, I'm gonna see you in court. When something doesn't feel right to me, I am that type of person that's like, and press record. Every single time I am going to press record. Also keep in mind that I was dealing with not normal people in unnormal circumstances. So I thought the best practices for me, not that I really even have to explain all of this, but I will. The best practice for me, based off of how I handle conflict in the situation that I was in, I pressed record every single time. With this story time, we're going to get into some things. We're going to share some things. We're going to get into some details. We're going to break some things down. Okay, so let me set the scene. We have Ursula. And Ursula is built off of emotions. And so it got to the point where there were a number of things that got her emotional all at once. And those emotions led her to writing me up on a pip. Now, I am one of those people who is a perfectionist. So for me, come for my character, come for my personality, that's all fine. Come for my work, now we have a problem. Especially when you're coming for my work on a personal level. Ursula is not also built off of emotions. She's also a liar. It's Sunday, she gonna lie. It's Monday, I'm lying. It's raining outside, I'm gonna lie. You know, it's one of those types of people. So let's take it to the weeks leading up to the pip. My assistant at the time was resigning. And I had had conversations with Ursula about how I personally did not feel comfortable being a part of the hiring process. Now, put a button in that. Let me also say that there was no HR. So because there's no HR, the role and responsibility of hiring a replacement really does fall on the executive director. Now, I am the director of my program, and I did have some input. I helped her write the job posting, the job description, of course, because she doesn't know what goes into that. She doesn't know the ins and out of that position, even though she's been there for a significant amount of time to know those details. However, there were a lot of turmoil and conflict and toxicity in the organization that I personally, my soul personally did not feel right helping to bring someone into that situation. So I did what I was comfortable with, on top of also having a conversation with her in terms of what my comfortability was. Again, it got to that point where we're at conversation number 3, and I'm like, why am I still explaining myself? Like, are you trying to bully me, harass me into doing what it is that you want to do, in which I also said to you I don't feel comfortable with? That third conversation, it was giving and press record. In the discussion, she wanted me to explain to her again why I didn't want to help her find someone, because she's realizing she can't do it on her own. And I shared with her my reasoning yet again, gave, I guess, more details. And listen, let me say, I'm also that type of person that is politically correct. My goal is not to hurt anyone's feelings, to be aggressive, to be mean. However, it does get to that point where you have to be as honest as possible without being too crass. And I was trying not to say everything other than, since I don't want to.
I don't want you to feel like you're carrying the weight of decisions on your shoulders alone. So I want to further understand what you're saying.
As I informed you, I'm a move in silence type of person because I don't like chaos and I don't like, friction, all of that. I'm here to kind of just do what I know I'm supposed to do and what I'm good at, and kind of leave all the other things to the side. I just want no part of it.
Okay, and those things make sense. I understand your concern and where you're coming from, and I think even then when you had expressed it without the backstory, wanting to honor what you felt comfortable with, but when you didn't when you didn't have any interest from anyone, that's the reason why, right? I just want to make sure that we're clear. It wasn't that I wasn't trying to honor what you were saying. It was the lack of the responses or the interest that you had shared with me. So that's the reason why. And then obviously your expertise, the community, the job and the role and what's needed, that also is, plays the significant portion of what's going on. So that's why for me it's important for both of us to be on the same page about who we're bringing on, because, to be quite frank, us three are the only full-time staff members. Everyone else is just consultants. You know what I mean? So even though everyone operates as if, there's no distinction between those, but, it's even more crucial to know that the full-time staff members are, all playing their parts and working together. So I just, I understand your concern. That's another reason why I feel like it's important for you to be involved in it. I don't want you to totally just be like, whoever you think, because I'm going to look at it from one side, you know what I mean? And I need you from the other side. We got to have to do this in tandem, because whoever I select more than likely wouldn't work, right? To your point of, pulling somebody in from one aspect, it's not going to work. It's kind of setting this person up for failure, because then you're not able to look at it from the lens of what you need in the role. So I just wanted, to see how you and I could try to figure this out, because I know you need somebody ASAP. I know we were hoping that they would be starting August 2nd, or at least next week at some point. And so we're a little bit behind, but I do think if at least, we're able to go through our top 3 people next week, we could have somebody by the end of next week, and we could really just be behind. I mean, how do you think we could try to work together to figure this out at this point?
I'm not even sure. I will have to put some thought into it. That's just not really coming to mind right now.
Okay. You want somebody in that role, right? You don't want it to be open for a long time. And I know you don't want me to just go in and select someone, honestly. I'm sure that is not what you want to do, especially based off of some of the emails that you sent back about clarifying how the role was being interpreted, or by the resume that you had seen or whatever. So we have to figure something out, and I know time is of the essence. So, like I said, I want to work with you on this. I do, but I do think it's important that we work together.
There is a level of, this is my role and my responsibility as the director to help you find someone. But then also, it's not, because you decided, or the organization decided, that they weren't going to have HR, whose real responsibility it is to handle that. I can give my input, absolutely, But it's not my sole responsibility to tag team with you to find a replacement for my assistant who was leaving because of you. Okay. So she's holding on to that. She's not happy about me not helping her. We're going to fast forward to the conversation about her wanting to write me up on a PIP, because there's no way to explain the other aspects without just jumping to the PIP where she was utilizing situations to perpetuate a lie. So her reasoning, although we know it's because I didn't help her, was because I submitted work that she wasn't pleased with. And in this conversation, I'm taken aback. I'm a little confused. And as the conversation goes on, I'm starting to understand, oh, you're just coming up with stuff. At this point, I'm not really equating it to, oh, she mad, like mad from weeks ago, because now the assistant is here. And so she proceeds to say she wasn't happy with my work. Okay. Were you going to tell me that? First of all, because you've never expressed not being happy with my work. The specific document that she's referring to, there's an email exchange going back and forth with myself, with her, with the grant developer. And so I submit the work. The grant developer is like, I will review. She reviewed, got back, looks great. Ursula jumps in and was like, to the event, the grant developer, do you think this is all they're going to need? She was like, I'm gonna leave that decision up to you and Nicole. Like, I think the more we send, the better. No discussion, no comment about it. It's not what she wanted or expected or any questions. Mind you, I'm always the type of person that's like, any comments, questions, concerns, what have you. And so when she mentions that, I'm like, so did you have a conversation with the grant developer? Because you're not pleased and you felt like, oh, I just had to submit this document, because to her, she was out of town. She ain't had time to really review it and get back to me and say she had a problem with it. She had to just submit it. I don't know how that's my problem, but okay. And so I'm asking her, did she speak to the grant developer who said it looked fine? And she's like, do you mean the grant developer? Did I talk to her? And I'm like, yes, because that's a conflict that one person said it's fine and you're saying that you had a problem with it even though you didn't express the problem, but she's trying to say that she didn't get a chance to express the problem because she was out of town. And when she got back in town, she had to just submit it. In my mind, I'm thinking, so where does the issue fall with me? I'm confused because I did what I was told to do. You had a problem, yet you didn't express the problem. You didn't give me a chance to fix the problem that you say you had that you didn't tell me. But then the more I'm pressing her about it, now it turned to, well, Nicole, if I would have said that there was issues with the document, that would have been a problem. I'm like, I'm not that type of person. Like, for me, I want to make sure that the work that you're getting is what you need, especially when it's going to somebody who's going to give us funding, which provides my salary. Like, I'm confused. But again, it's built on emotions that's based off of a lie and an excuse for her to write this PIP. So then she moves on to my assistant. She has a problem with the way I onboarded him. She didn't like the fact that I didn't do X, Y, and Z. And we'll get to that in more details in another episode because that was a whole gaslighting situation. So she writes that in there as well, that she didn't appreciate my onboarding, e.g. what she was really saying is I didn't help her hire him, but she turned it into she didn't like how I handled his first week. Then she starts kind of alluding to some other things that were again like, okay, so like, where is this coming from? For example, we would have evaluations, right? But the evaluations will be me evaluating myself. So I will have an annual evaluation. I will evaluate myself. She would give her opinion on my evaluation. She would never come to the evaluation with her own thoughts. It's all about what I think. So now she has issues with me that has never been expressed before because in my evaluations, those were my thoughts. But now all of a sudden, I'm a problem and I'm being problematic. So we leave that conversation. A couple of days later, she sends me the pip. I laugh. I do, because it's filled with lies and I'm not gonna say strong accusations, but accusations of me not necessarily being a team player. And that was a slippery slope for me, because there's a thing called setting boundaries, right? And because of the toxic environment, I set boundaries. And I don't have a problem with someone trying to come for me for my personality and me setting those boundaries, but to make it seem like those boundaries were unrealistic to someone who had ulterior motive and a different agenda. And I see through that. Like, I'm about the work, you're about something else. I'm not interested in that. So I'm going to do the work. And so, like, in the pip, she's saying things like I wasn't showing up to participate in events and activities. Now, guys, listen. This was the middle of the pandemic, so where were we going? What were we doing? There was nothing. So with all of the foolery in the pip, the one that really stuck out to me was she was also asking me to help her plan a staff retreat. Now that one really did get under my skin a little bit, because it's given like, oh, so now you want to force me to be your friend, because I feel like that's what she wanted the entire time. It was like, the more that I'm like, nah, I'm setting boundaries and you're not going to be in my midst. I'm not trying to kiki with you. I'm not trying to do any of those things. Now it's giving, I'm going to write this pip. I'm going to force you to help me plan something that she wasn't actually equipped to do, yet she had her own personal assistant who could have done that. I'm a director of youth programs, running 2 robust programs with a new assistant, and you want me to help you plan a staff retreat? Okay, I responded back to her and was like, yeah, this is filled with foolery. You know, I'm telling her that is lies and things like that. I was like, listen, you'll get my letter on Monday. Sis is like, what letter? Like, comment down below if you guys know what letter I'm talking about. Like, why are we playing games? Like, what is happening? What you're not going to do is insult me and disrespect me and then want to play ignorant when I stand up and be like, no, this is not okay with me. You're lying. I'm out. Like, take this good letter. You'll get it on Monday. One thing about me is that I am extremely intelligent. Now, again, a lot of people are looking for folk to flip tables, to cuss you out. I'm not doing all of that. I'm going to use my wits. I knew good and well that board chair was going to have to be the one to step in. I know we don't have an HR, but I'm like, oh, we need a third party. I knew who that third party was going to be, because she had already shared with us that the board chair had agreed to step in as HR. Now, how that was supposed to work, y'all, I have no idea. But she would step in as HR. For me, it was really more so about somebody else needs to be in on this conversation to have an understanding of what's going on. Because when I say I'm out, I'm out. But I need to have it documented what happened, because I'm not going to go silently and no one ever gets to find out about it because it's not documented. Board chair agrees to step in. I have a lengthy conversation with the board chair, and I felt heard, but I also felt like she was making excuses for her. And she wanted to have us have a conversation together. That's fine. She asks me if I want to have a meeting in person or have it over the phone. And I said in person. I want her to be able to address what was said in that pip that were lies. Say that to my face. We got together, myself, the board chair, and Ursula. And mind you, this is the pandemic. So we are spread out in the conference room of the office. My therapist advised me to not go into that conversation trying to defend myself. That rebuttal was my defense. And it was apparent kind of early on, the problem both of them had was me saying that Ursula was harassing me because, quote, that is going to go into her file. So I pretty much had to defend that comment, in which I shared with you guys before, Ursula was doing a lot of learned behavior from Cruella. And they both were doing this, why do you want to work for the organization type of thing. Ursula was doing hers verbal. Cruella was doing hers written. And when you ask someone something multiple times, there's a goal and objective behind that. Why am I being asked to defend why I want to work to the organization? What are you really trying to say? Because we all know what that entails when someone says, well, why do you want to work here? You're trying to fish for an answer, right? And if the answer is not what you like, then ultimately that can lead to a dismissal. I expressed and I shared because I am the dates person. I'm going to give you the facts. I gave her the dates that she said it because she was adamant that she only said it once. I told her the 3 times that she said it. And she was like, that's now multiple times. And I said to her, sis, it's more than once, so that's multiple. Guys, if you could have seen the look on her face, you know how they say what looks could kill? I would have been dead. The daggers she shot me in that moment was given, she was totally disgusted with me. But I wasn't playing games. I'm not here to play games. You wrote me up on a pit based off of emotions and it was based on lies. So stand 10 toes down in that. You were being harassing in terms of trying to fish for whatever response that you were trying to get to beat on your chest. I really don't know what sis was trying to do, what she was trying to prove, where she was going with that, but I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And of course, I listed a lot of other things in my rebuttal in terms of just squashing everything that she had to say that was just blatant lies. So there's also this situation where I have anxiety. This isn't nothing new. So there's moments where I'm physically shaking. The board chair is calling me out like, you okay? You need to take breaks. I'm like, no, let's just get through this because I don't like confrontation. It was really making me uncomfortable to have to address this, but I knew that I had to. We get through the conversation. The board chair is trying to convince me that a PIP is not anything for me to worry about. It's the end of the year review that I should be concerned about. A PIP is just pretty much a PIP. I'm not really sure why she felt that she needed to educate me on what a PIP is. But, okay, there's no fighting for me. I'm not there to fight. I sign it because I already know in my mind, guys, I'm out. I'm done. Again, my objective was to get things documented. Because without the documentation, because there's no HR, this behavior is going to continue, even though it did. But it's going to continue without being recognized, and I couldn't go for that. So I sign it. Ursula gets up to make a copy. Board chair says to me, well, Nicole, I know she's not the most qualified and difficult to work with, but just hang in there. Great things are coming. I kept that in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay. Because basically what you're saying to me is, she's a problem. Deal with it. In the most subtle way possible. We leave. She sends me a text. I'm so proud of you. What is it that you're proud of? Now, mind you, at this point, I'm already on the phone with my mom. Just, you know how it is when you talk to your mom. You just unleash all the things I wish I could have said. I said to my mother. Because that's the appropriate person to decompress with, because my counseling session wasn't going to be until I think the end of maybe the following week. So I'm on the phone with mom. Then this text message comes through and I'm pissed off because now I just feel like you're playing with me. You're playing with my emotions because you know that was tough for me. You know that this person is a problem and you're just like, hang in there. Okay. That hang in there was all I needed to go and start my LLC. I was done. I was out by November because it's in August, or actually we're in September now by the time we all meet. By October, I'm like, I'm ready. Let's get this LLC going and popping. It gets solidified in November. We get to December. Another staffer resigns. In that resignation, there was a staff meeting. That staff meeting got extremely heated. I'm quiet. I don't have nothing to say. Like there's nothing for me to say. I know I'm out. Like ask anybody. My deadline was December 31st. Nicole was out. I'm done. Everybody can tell you. I'm out of here. So I don't really have anything to say. It's a heated conversation with people calling out Ursula on her behavior. Now the board chair has to get involved. Now I've already been through the board chair. I've been through the experience of dialogue with her. Now everybody has to meet because pretty much the staff gave an ultimatum. This gets addressed or we're not doing any work type of vibes. Like, this needs to be addressed. Things get addressed, and get addressed meaning we all showed up for a meeting. The board chair wants to again tell us to get behind the decision of Ursula. We get to the point where everybody has to have conversations now with the board chair, Ursula. This conversation is the middle of December. So I think just like a week or two before Christmas. And in this conversation, you can see that Ursula is having a difficult time paying me a compliment, but pays one anyway. You know, with your great work, we want to thank you for everything and so on and so forth. And for me, I'm like, you know, I'm on my way. I don't really care what you have to say. But then it's also giving, no, this is interesting because did you just write me up on a pimp? Now I'm great. Now I'm amazing. That's interesting. She offers me a bonus. You're going to get a bonus for the end of the year for all your hard work. And I'm like, but a couple of months ago, I wasn't working that hard, but okay. And then we want to offer you a $5,000 raise. And I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there listening. But I'm also putting the pieces together. Because again, you just wrote me up in a pip. So now I'm bonus worthy. And I'm $5,000 raise worthy. So then remember, the board chair wanted to be on this call. So now sis chimes in. She's flipping through her papers, which was really weird. Like, what are you flipping for? Like, what are we flipping? Girl, please stop. Because now she's trying to up the ante. On behalf of the board, we want to offer you $10,000 bonus to stay on as an employee for the next 18 months. Guys, let me tell you something. What Nicole is not going to be is bought. Like, what in the modern day slavery is going on here? I'm just taking in the information. I think they were really expecting something more grand. No, you're not getting that from me. You're not going to buy me. And again, I'm on my way out. And you wrote me up on a pimp. So all of this is a farce to me. I see exactly what you're doing. I see you. Ursula had her butt handed to her by the rest of the staff. The board chair had to step in. So now you guys want to pay the person that was written up on the pip to stay in a toxic environment that you know is toxic, but you need me. You realize you need me. You realize you needed me when I told you I was going to give you that letter on Monday. And you tried to pretend you didn't know what letter I was talking about. Bullies will do that. They will go as far as they deem necessary until they realize, oh, I went too far. They do this thing where it's giving, I'm going to write you up on this pimp. You're going to accept it because you need this job. Not thinking that I'm going to be like, and I'm out. And I'm out. I take in all of this and I get off the phone and I'm fuming, actually. I'm very upset. I'm sure to some people this would have been an amazing situation to be offered a bonus, a $5,000 raise, and a $10,000 bonus to be paid immediately for me to stay on for 18 months. Now again, I'm smart. So I'm like, what is this 18 months? That is a weird number. And when I started to do the math, I'm like, I think that's the end of her contract. So you want me to stay on to the end of her contract to help her out when she disrespected me? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. And you're not going to pay me to do it. So I decided, well, I'm starting this LLC. I'll counter offer. You can keep that $5,000 raise. You can give me that bonus to stay on for as a contractor, though. You can do that. Board chair comes back and she's like, well, the board is going on vacation. And so it's not going to, we're not going to be able to make a decision by your deadline. A couple of days go by, Ursula comes back and is saying, oh, they're trying to do away with contractors. That's fine. Here's my resignation letter as of December 31st. I'm not playing, guys. I wasn't playing. This wasn't play. I had already had it in my mind that I was leaving December 31st. That deadline was not going to change for me. The only thing that changed is they made me an offer and I was like, I can rebuttal because I have an LLC now. That's the only thing that changed. She wasn't going to meet me on my terms for me to be a contractor. I'm out. Period.
Morale situation with the team and how, everything was left. And obviously, we have to come back at the beginning of the year and talk through together what we're going to do for this year and how we're going to fix a lot of the issues and concerns, etc. And, even all the contractors have been involved in those conversations just about making it a better work environment for everybody. So it's still, of course, want your input and guidance and, your thoughts on all of that. So, obviously knowing that you don't really, it's not going to be your problem, but just based off of your experience and what you, experienced with for the past 6 years, we want to make sure that, we have your input as well. But yeah, take a moment and think about it, because that's my goal. Is like, how do we just get you to the end of the semester in a way that works for everybody? Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying, like, even if it's just about, because I guess for me, the only difference with contractors, right, they work their time and they do whatever their schedule is. The only difference is there's a contract versus the signed employee handbook, and then the way that they're paid, right? They're paid still twice a month, but they're just paid without still goes through ADP. So all of that stuff goes. It's just there's no taxes taken out versus for an employee there's taxes that are taken out. So that's what it is. You know what I mean? We could shift to the way that the payment is made. I guess those types of things to me are smaller details, but I don't want to minimize what it is for you. So, take some time to think about, because I guess what I'm wondering is, could we just keep the way that everything is and you and I just know I'm only going to work 24 hours this week. You know what I mean? Like, that's, to me, I guess, is the easiest answer, because then everything, the board is good, and I'm not trying to be sneaky about anything.
No. Like, I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's just, let's just get through these next couple of months knowing what we need. We all know what it is, and then, everybody can go away and make their next move.
So I have a question.
But I just can't get another contract signed, because that's going to have to be created by the board, and they're not going to do that.
Gotcha. I will not be staying on as an employee. No, ma'am. Get out of here. No. It's giving no with a hard N. I'm not doing that. Now it's giving, well, wait, Nicole is serious. And yes, I am. Like, again, I really think people thought that I was going to move on that money. I was not. You're not buying me. I'm being asked to stay and low-key being asked to stay on as an employee. I'm not going for that. So there were several conversations back and forth. I sent a contract and it was giving, oh, well, we're going to have our board member, who is also a lawyer, do new contracts for everybody. And so this delays things. This delays things until we get into January. We get into January, and I told you guys December 31st was my deadline. But we're talking about me being a contractor at this point. I haven't signed a contract yet. So I'm falling back on doing anything because I'm not an employee and I'm technically not a contractor. It gets to the first pay. She pays me as an employee. Pays me the raise. Now I'm really in my feelings. Because what you're not going to do is disregard what I said. I said what I said, and I said that I was going to be a contractor. You need to pay me based off of that, information that I sent you. That W-9 for my LLC, pay me based off of that. And it was the play dumb for me, and I really hate to use that word, but that was what she was doing. Because when I pointed it out, like, listen, this is not how this is supposed to go. Oh, well, you know, and the raise is in there. Like, that was supposed to sway me. No, ma'am. Then I had to bring it up again. Oh, let me check, because now all of a sudden she's having a difficult time trying to figure out how to make the shift to pay me right. Girl, she was trying to do some real underhanded things, like just totally disrespect my decision, and to get what she wanted, to, I guess, try to fix this situation that she knew she messed up royally in. But I wasn't going to be complicit in that, especially when it wasn't on my own terms. Now, people can agree or disagree with how I handled it in saying that I was staying on as a contractor, and it's like, well, why didn't you walk away? And that is a valid question, a valid thing to want to know. And I don't necessarily have to explain that decision. What I will say is I made things work for me and on my own terms, in order to not necessarily leave the organization in a bind in which the program that I built wouldn't sustain if I did leave abruptly. Even though that is what I was going to do if me being a contractor was not on the table. When it became to be a part of the table, I gave a timeline of how long I was going to now help their situation, and then their situation worsened, and then, you know, that it had nothing to do with me. So there's that. So I hope you guys like this story time. I feel like it was kind of all over the place and probably a little disjointed, but I am one of those people that are like, I'm just going to say what I need to say. I'm not going to pussyfoot around the issue. If it needs to be said, I'm going to say it. I'm going to try to say it in the most delicate way possible to spare feelings and to not totally have people out here looking foolish. Yet at the same time, you made the bed, you have to lie in it. You chose those shoes, you have to wear them. And I can't half tell a story to try to defend other people when they did what they did to give me a story to have to share anyway. So that's my story time. That's how I manage to work towards getting out. I have many more stories to share. It only gets more interesting from here. Y'all, it gets dark, it gets deep, it gets interesting. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate you tuning in. Please leave a comment down below about your thoughts, your insight on my story time, my decision to get out, how I got out. Be sure to like, subscribe, and per usual, if no one told you today, let me be the one to say, I love you. Cheers.